Hey everybody, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and today we are looking at Rosewill's R5 Black Gaming Case. It is a mid-tower ATX size case. It comes with a few fans and some pretty cool features. This case is an $80 range case, so that means it is meant for those builds that are sort of probably in the $550 to $700 range. There are a lot of choices in this range, so you could also go look at the Zalman Z11 Plus, Cooler Masters, Storm Scout, NZXTs, Lexa S, and several other cases, dozens of other cases actually, but this does make my short list of the top 5 or 6 cases in this price range, and there are a few reasons why. Number one is because if you want a discreet looking case that fits in an office environment, this is the case that you'd want to go with. The Storm Scout is a little bit more on the gaming side. The Z11 Plus is definitely on the gaming side because it looks like a transformer. So if you want something discreet, this is one to look at. If that is something that immediately makes you not want a case, then you may want to turn away now. But it does have a good feature set. It ships with 3 pre-installed fans and a fan controller. It has 2 front 120mm that are fairly quiet, 1 rear 120mm fan, and it also has room for, according to Rosewill, up to 10 total fans. That would be 6 that can fit in a 120 or 140mm slot, and 4 that can fit in a 120mm only slot. There's also room for a 240mm radiator, according to Rosewill, what they told us, so that could fit the H100 up at the top actually of the case, right above the CPU, and that area is very easy to access. You can just pull out the compartment and stick the radiator in there. It is also equipped with a dust filter in that same area, so you just flip it out like this and then put the dust filter in, or take it out rather, and clean it. On the note of dust filters, this case comes with 4 of them total. It has 2 dust filters on the bottom, one below the PSU directly, and one below an additional fan bay. It has one in the front that is easily flipped out, just like the top one is. You just pull a latch and it comes right out, and you can clean it underwater and let it dry. And then, of course, the one on the top that I've already talked about, where the radiator can go, and same thing there, you just pull it out and clean it. The case also comes with the fan controller that I mentioned. It is equipped with up to 3 3-pin fan connectors right now, and I do have a complaint about that though. I felt the cable was a little bit short, so I had trouble getting it behind the case, behind the motherboard rather, and connecting it to that rear fan, so I ended up plugging in the rear fan directly into the motherboard, and then routing and hiding that fan controller's wiring behind the drive bays and connecting it to the front 2 fans. So that was a bit of a problem for me because I don't want cables cutting straight across the middle of my case. It looks ugly and sloppy. So I did not connect the rear fan to it, but you could connect another one of the front fans or the top fan to it if you have a long enough cable or an extender. This case also has a top-mounted I/O panel, so you won't be kicking it with your knees when you walk by. It has one USB 3.0 port. It does have the 20-pin USB 3 header, so it can plug directly into boards that support it. Unfortunately, it is only 1 port, which I thought was kind of weird because normally you'll see 2 with that, but I guess that's the decision they decided to make. So it is 1 USB 3, 2 USB 2, 1 eSATA, an audio out, and a microphone in port. It has 2 buttons, of course, the reset and power on switch, the fan controller. All of that is on the top mounted panel. The inside of the case is where it tries to shine though, because it does have, I believe, 4 cable pass-throughs with rubber grommets on them. So there are 4 pass-throughs for your cables to be managed and routed nicely behind the case. Unfortunately, the 4-pin or 8-pin 12-volt connector that plugs in near the CPU, normally in the top left, is not able to go through the back and out the top because the top just isn't, there's a hole up there, but it's not big enough for a cable. So there's just no way you're going to do that. You'll have to run it probably to the left, up underneath the video cards, and then plug it in there. The back side of the case does have enough room to fit a fat 24-pin connector and still close. It took a little bit of trickery to get it to close, but it does close. So you can fit some fat cable back there. I'm not sure the exact depth of that between the motherboard mounting wall and the side panel for the case, but it is enough for your cabling. And there are the standoffs where you can tie twist ties or zip ties with cables to keep them all in order, so those also exist in the back and the front. so you can tie things down and keep them nicely organized so they're not in total chaos in the back. There's also the tool list design for the entire case, so your expansion bays are using thumb screws, and the drives, the optical drives, are mounted using also screws. They're different from the Thor version 2 that we reviewed, which was more of a push design, a push-pull design for the optical drives that I complained about for breaking easily. But this one, instead of that push design, has a typical screw turning design, so you just turn it. Unfortunately, I did think that the hard drive bays were pretty flimsy. They weren't flimsy to the point where it'd be a deal breaker for me on the case. Like if I'm considering this or the Z11 Plus, the hard drive bays would not be what make me change my mind ultimately. But they are flimsy and they feel pretty cheap, which I just, as a general philosophy, didn't like. But they do get their job done. I was worried that faster RPM drives, like 10,000 to 15,000 RPM, would cause vibration, but normally if you have that kind of speed drive, you're not going to be using this kind of case. In the same region with the external bays, I had trouble with cable management, because normally in cases I'm used to there being some kind of pass-through or chiseled out area between the actual bays and the wall for the motherboard mounting wall. But unfortunately in this case there is not one. That means you have to, if you're going to pass a cable through the back of the case, you have to either do it through the drive bays, the bottom drive bays for hard drives, or through the grommets. You can't do any cool tricks with hiding cables by like stuffing the optical cable between the power connector between the mounting wall and the bays itself. But again, nothing game changing. And beyond that, we're really just looking at the main features for this case being reasonable cable management, reasonable dust filtration, actually very good dust filtration, and a completely toolless design in the $80 range. You can actually take out all of the dust filters without dismantling the case, something that many cases cannot do. That's all there really is to say about the case in terms of overall features. If I had to give you other options, I would definitely say consider the Zalman Z11 Plus, the Cooler Master Storm Scout, NZXT's Lexa S, and of course whatever Antec has out there in this range. I think it's probably the 900, though it may be a bit more expensive. So definitely look into those options. If you have any questions at all about this case or about this build or anything else we do at gamersnexus.net, please feel free to post a comment below. The full article review is in the description below, so check that out if you'd like the full review. Please like this video if you liked it, comment if you have any questions at all, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this. See you guys next time.